What does it mean to live life to the fullest, train to your potential, and perform at your best?
Leave nothing on the table. That's a non-negotiable, is that I strive to be better every day. Because if I'm not on top of my game, how's anybody else going to follow me down the road?
Keep demanding more of yourself to live up to that potential and to stay hungry.
Training is progress. You know, when I look at the word training, I think of steps, baby steps to get somewhere that you want to be. And that is basically your life journey.
It's a mindset in itself, man. It's like, it's not just about, I know that for you, a lot of that's about the physical, but we're constantly in training, whether it's growing our skill sets, whether it's growing our physical bodies, whether it's growing our relationships, whatever. And all of that's a training ground. And that kind of goes back to the mindset that we just talked about.
You underestimate yourself and you don't even start. But then once you start, you often surpass what you thought you could do.
Perform at your best, mate. That's sort of what life is all about. You know, want to have the knowledge, want to have the fitness, the health, the ambition and drive that no matter what comes along, when that next phone call comes, I can just say yes. I don't have to worry. Just go and do it.
Hey guys, welcome to today's episode of the Live, Train, Perform podcast. I'm your host, Sean Kober, and joining me today is a young lad who is on his path to becoming a world champion. James Power is Ireland's youngest ever professional boxer with a record of 5-0 with 4 knockouts. I haven't actually met him. He's in quarantine at the moment, making his way over to Tiger Muay Thai to come and train with us from Ireland. Brother, welcome to the episode, mate. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to meeting you, man. I've heard a lot of good things about you, and I'm excited to, one, meet you, but also have the opportunity to work with you and, have you as part of our fight team. So very exciting, mate. How long until you actually get to Tiger and start training?
So in 5 days, I'll leave quarantine here in Bangkok, get the first flight to Phuket, and then once I'm off the plane, get to work.
Nice. Let's talk about that journey, mate. Why have you decided to come over to Thailand in the midst of a pandemic?
So the pandemic threw my whole career up in the air back home in Ireland. I was scheduled to move to Los Angeles permanently before this coronavirus hit. That put everything on hold and delayed that move. But it also, with quarantine, it put everything at a standstill back home. I switched my focus to endurance running during 2020, ultramarathon running, just to take my mind away from the sport, because with no fights possible and no opportunity to train or no way to train, no access to gyms or boxing bags or anything like that, I just needed something to focus on and put my mind to and set goals in. But I made myself a promise leading up to New Year's that I wasn't going to stay at home for another year and just wait for things to die down before I pursue my dreams in the sport. So I decided to reach out to John Hutchison, who's training in Tiger Muay Thai, and just ask him about the situation over. And one thing led to another, and I had to go out there and see it for myself. So I'm going out to Tiger Muay Thai now, joining the team, training with coaches like yourself, and just taking steps forward and moving closer to those goals.
Man, that is so cool to hear that mindset that you've adopted. Working with what you've got rather than focusing on what you can't do, focusing on what you could do, and then taking a massive step. What, you're 18 years old right now?
19.
You're moving across 19
Yeah.
now. Yeah, all right. Sorry, I missed that one, slipped through the nets.
No worries.
But that's a massive step, man, to be leaving home at 19, moving across the other side of the world, to go and chase your dream. Talk to me about that process. Like, when did you start boxing? And talk to me about the journey and the lessons that it's taught you up until this point.
So I began boxing when I was 9 years old. Instantly, I fell in love with the sport and just knew that this is what I wanted to do. I remember coming home in those early couple of weeks and just telling my mother that this is the life I want. This is what I want to do moving forward. And at that early age, she told me, think about it for a little while and see if this is what you want to do, because My family kind of has that mentality of, if you're going to do something, give it your all. Life's too short for half attempts. So if this is what you want, if this is what you're going to do, then you're going to do it to the best of your ability. But yeah, I just felt at home when I stepped into the gym. I felt at home when I stepped in the ring, and I felt like that's where I belong. So 10 years down the road now, and we're still chasing that dream, and just finding ways to keep moving forward.
Yeah, amazing, man. I'm excited to potentially be a part of that journey and watch your growth. I want to bring it back to what you spoke about before. For those that are listening that don't know too much about Tiger Muay Thai, John Hutchison is one of our boxing coaches. He's from Ireland as well, so there's obviously the connection there. And John and I worked quite closely with Peter Yan through the majority of his UFC fight camps. And particularly through his last one when he fought Jose Aldo for the title. John Boy's actually over in Miami in Florida in training camp with Peter Yan at the moment before he faces Aljamain Sterling. So that's exciting, mate. What's your connection with John Boy?
Just we're Irish. That's it.
Yeah, you Irish lads stick together, eh?
That's it. Yeah, so John is based in Tiger, and he has a lot of experience. I know I can learn a lot from him. He's a world-class coach. You just mentioned what he's achieved with one of his fighters. Never mind the rest of them. So to train under him, it'll be an honor, and I'm proud to join the team.
Yeah, amazing, man. What's your vision for your time in Thailand? Like, what are you anticipating? What are you expecting from your training camps in Thailand?
Improvement. I'm always seeking ways to learn and see things from a different perspective. I believe I'll get that in Tiger Muay Thai. There's a lot of different coaches, a lot of world-class athletes, and I can just learn something from everyone. Continue to improve as a fighter. I'm young. I have a lot of years left in this game. I have a lot of improvements to make, and this will be a massive opportunity for me to take a massive leap forward and just become a better boxer and a better person.
Mate, that's an amazing answer. I've flicked through your social media, done a little bit of research, and spoken to John Boy, and it seems like you've got your head switched on, man. I want to ask, I want to put you on Front Street right now. Who does your social media posts? Is that you or is that someone else?
No, that's me. I actually feel strongly about that. It's 100% in my control. I've fallen out with sponsors before because they're trying to take too much control of it and tell me what to do. But it's 100% me, and it will always be me going forward.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. If anyone hasn't seen James's Instagram, go and check it out. I'll have it linked in the show notes. Good content, and man, like I said, at such a young age, you seem to have your head switched on. So good to see, mate. Let's talk about your plan in Thailand. Like, are you planning on living here long term, or is it going to be like a year thing? How do you see that playing out?
I'm coming over on a tourist visa at the moment, which is, I think with an extension 90 days. I'm going to apply to stay there as long as I can. It's going to take me a while to get the ball rolling again in terms of getting back to peak condition and fighting at the best of my ability. Once I get the ball rolling, I just want to keep that momentum, fight as often as I can, keep improving, and just keep moving forward. As long as I can stay in Thailand and keep making those improvements, I'll be more than happy to stay. But if 2020 showed us anything, it's not to focus too much on the long-term goals and just focus on what we have right now and the immediate future.
Yeah, man. And that kind of ties into what I was just talking about, your social media. And that was the post I was referring to when you're saying, 2020 is what it is and there's not much we can do about it. It's behind us now. We need to look forward. We need to keep moving. So that's an awesome attitude, man. What I want to talk about now is the principles of Swiss 8. I'm actually an ambassador for Swiss 8, which is a proactive mental health program designed to allow people to structure in the important things in their life. And Swiss 8 has 8 pillars of health and wellness, which are sleep, nutrition, time management, discipline, fitness, personal growth, mindfulness, and minimalism. Now, I know that you've been reading a lot of books over the last year, and focusing on, educating yourself and building your knowledge and experience and that type of stuff. Out of those principles, which one of those is most important for you at the moment, considering you are going through that lockdown period?
Yeah, each principle impacts another. They're all equally important. The one that stands out to me most is discipline, because I think without discipline, everything else fades away. It's the foundation of everything, in my opinion. And if I had to choose one, I'll choose discipline.
Yeah, cool, man. Let's talk about how you're using discipline right now, considering you are in quarantine. What are you doing to keep yourself disciplined?
Yeah, so quarantine's a strange one, because I suppose everything is kind of taken out of your control. Um, at home, discipline for me would be my nutrition, my training, my recovery, all those things. In here, there's only so much you can do. I'm kind of just trying to stay structured. Reading, podcasts, working out, exercising, and managing nutrition the best I can. Um, but I think my discipline will speak for itself when I get out of Bangkok and get down to Phuket.
Love it, mate. How did that come to the top of the pile? Like, was there some moments in your life where you have progressively built that discipline, or was there like a big moment where you're like, all right, I need to tighten the screws? Or talk to me about that process. How have you built your discipline?
Yeah, so interestingly, I think I had discipline from the beginning of my career, from 9 years of age. I kind of saw it as a way to pull away from the pack and step out, like
Mm,
stand out from the crowd. I saw so many people who were named the next best thing leave the sport and slip away due to a lack of discipline. They reach a certain
mm,
age, drink, nights out, girls, they all come into the mix, and you see them missing a training session and then eventually leaving the sport. I kind of made a promise to myself that that never happen, and discipline is something I can control, and if I can control it, there's no real reason why it shouldn't be at 100%. So from 9 or 10 years of age, I made that commitment to myself, but I also kind of made it to my family. They have shown so much support to me, and I'm grateful for everything they've done for me. And if I wasn't disciplined, I'm disrespecting them in a way. I dedicated a decade to my life to this sport, but so has my mother, so has my sister,
mm.
for as long as she's been helping me. All those past coaches and past training partners, I kind of owe it all to them now to stay disciplined as long as I'm doing this sport. So yeah, it's something I had my whole life, and it's something I'm so focused on moving forward.
Man, that is so thought-provoking, dude. Very well said. Let's go back to some of your coaches, training partners, etc., because they've obviously, seen some potential in you and they've guided you along the process. You've obviously built your own discipline there. Talk to me about some of the mentors and coaches and friends, training partners, and things like that that have helped you along the way to get to this point where you're at right now.
Everyone has helped me along the way. I kind of have a mindset of you can learn something from everyone. Each of us have our own life experiences. We've learned things, we've made mistakes, and if we can take them on and use them in our own lives, well, we're just going to improve leaps and bounds. My mother, she stands above all the rest. I can't put into words how much she has done for me or how much it means to me. You know, I just my main focus in this sport is just to repay her in some way. The rest of my family, my friends, my teachers, I spent the most time with them in my early life. So that environment, just being in that atmosphere, that has definitely impacted me. But recently, books and podcasts, I spend most of my time reading or listening to podcasts. I definitely listen to one or two podcasts a day. Joe Rogan, you know, he has had a massive effect on the person I've become and the guests he has have on. So that has definitely impacted me a lot in the past few years. And books, yeah, I found those during 2020, and you know, I'm obsessed with them now.
That's awesome, man. That's one of the Swiss 8 principles is personal growth. It's constantly striving for excellence. It's constantly trying to improve yourself and build upon your current baseline and expand your knowledge and expand your horizons. So that's amazing, man. What are some of your favorite books that you've read in the last year? Some of maybe the top like 3 impactful books that you've read.
Top 3. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. That's a powerful story.
Yeah,
And it's a
I,
book
I
that,
literally I literally just finished that like 2 days
yeah,
ago, man.
that is a powerful story.
Yeah.
It'll definitely impact everyone. The Art of Resilience by Ross Edgley is another excellent book. A mix of sports science, philosophy, and a journal of his swim around Great Britain.
Mm.
Um, Another book that I just read in lockdown is Eddie Hearn's book, Relentless. It's a brilliant book. It's just kind of about his story of how he made a name for himself as a boxing promoter and how Matchroom was founded and kind of the mistakes he made and, you know, the things he's learned. And like, he's after taking over the sport of boxing. So if he can do that and put it into words, it's just going to benefit everyone else.
Was there a pivotal moment that pushed you towards boxing? Why did you walk into the boxing gym and start training?
So my uncle was a trainer. He was running Macroom Boxing Club, which was a local boxing gym by me. The age to start was 10 years old, but through relentless annoyance, I got in there a year earlier. And as I said, the moment I stepped in those doors, it just felt like home to me. But just my family were involved in it. It was something that every young kind of kid around where I lived and in my family just tried out at one stage. But I took to it a little differently from the rest, and yeah, I just devoted my life to it and didn't look anywhere else.
Mm. Did you like notice straight away, or was there coaches or people in there notice straight away the way that you moved and the way that you're throwing punches and the way that you were just conducting yourself that were like, hey man, you should really follow this up? Or was it something that you just decided that you wanted to pursue and then started putting the time, energy, and effort into it?
So I definitely didn't have any God-given talents or natural abilities or anything like that. I wasn't blessed with extreme skill or um, just anything extraordinary. But I had a great work ethic. I had focus. This is where discipline played its part, and I had grit.
Mhm.
You know, I kind of always wanted to be the last man standing as such. I wanted to be the first person in the gym, and I wanted to be the last to leave. And if we were sparring, no matter what happened, I wanted to get to that final bell, or you know, take them out of it before the final bell. That mentality, that mindset, that caught the eye of the coaches and my training partners and things like that. But it was there was definitely no standout abilities at an early age.
Mate, that's so many of those things that you just listed. They're very, you either have it or you don't have it. It's very difficult to teach. So, starting with that attitude, that mindset, going into it, like, and then building the skills and the drills around that attitude, I think that's a recipe for success.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to seeing your growth and getting to work with you. You've never actually worked with a strength and conditioning coach, you were saying to me. Is that correct?
So, in the past year, well, since I turned professional, I was in school in Cork when I turned professional, and the closest professional boxing gym would have been like a couple of hours drive away. So I was training myself Monday to Friday, bag work, drills, strength and conditioning, sprints. kind of just doing that alone. And then on Saturdays, traveling, 4 hours to Dublin to train with a coach and get some sparring in with some teammates. I worked with Declan Geraghty originally, and then Pete Taylor, more recently, who is father of Katie Taylor. But the majority of the time, 5 out of 6 days, I was training myself. When I done my training camp in Los Angeles and then came home, I was training myself at home. So a lot of the work has been done by me, which isn't exactly ideal, structuring your own training and doing things like that. But it made me once again learn. I had to research how to do these things, had to read about them, listening to podcasts, and I've been tailoring my own nutrition, my own strength and conditioning, and managing my own training demands for the past couple of years now.
That's really cool. And how do you feel about handing the reins over to other coaches to, help you with nutrition, help you with strength and conditioning, help you with all of the other aspects? Considering you've learnt about, you've educated yourself on all this stuff and you've put your own processes in place and figured out what works for you. Like, how do you feel handing those reins over to other people?
I'm completely open to it. I can't wait. I'm not a specialist in any of those fields. So it'll be great to experience what it's like to work with people that are at the top of their game, and just learn from them as well.
Yeah, man. Again, such an awesome attitude. Let's go back to your professional debut. So you were training yourself prior to your pro debut. Like, how many amateur fights did you have?
So I was training myself Monday to Friday, but I was working with a coach on the weekends. So I was still getting told what to do and kind of little drills to do during the week. But I kind of
homework.
Yeah, but I kind of had to make sure that I was giving it my all in those sessions, and make sure I'm doing my best at the rounds of the bags, and make sure I'm running my fastest on the sprints. Just little things like that. Um, I had I think it was almost 100 amateur fights, or just over 100 amateur fights. I've won my national titles. I had a good amateur career, but I wasn't afraid to get in there and take a few risks as well. Some didn't pay off, in the bit larger tournaments against, fighters that have gone on to win European gold medals and things like that. But yeah, I had a good amateur career. I got a lot of experience from that, and then made my professional debut.
Yeah, nice. Before we go into the pro debut, can we talk about some of those moments that you just spoke about, some of the things that you might have done different and lessons learned and things like that? What are some of those things that you picked up on, that you reviewed and essentially went, if that happened, if I had that opportunity again, I'd do that different?
So I always had my eyes set on becoming a professional boxer. I never really focused on the amateur side of the sport, and that was influenced by my own mindset, but also from my coach at the time, who was my uncle. He was always obsessed with the professional side of it. So we kind of together saw amateur boxing as a stepping stone to the professional ranks. Achieving things at amateur level it's amazing. To even compete at the Olympics is incredible, but it was never the path I wanted to go down. It was never my goal. I always wanted to be a professional boxer. So with that mindset, I didn't fear stepping up a few weights to fight an opponent, or giving away a few years, or little things like that, because I wasn't too worried about the record. I wasn't too worried about the amateur side in general. I just wanted to get as much experience as I can and use that as preparation for when I did turn professional, and I knew that it would benefit me in the long run more than the short run.
For my listeners that might not know that much about boxing, what's the difference between being professional and amateur?
So in the amateurs, you're younger for a start. So you can start when you're 11 in Ireland, and you can be an amateur for as long as you want. You have 3 rounds. like max is 3 minutes. At a certain point, it was all about point scoring. So the amount of times I can touch you compared to the amount of times you can touch me. It didn't matter how much damage was inflicted. It didn't matter like how severe the punches were. That has changed now, and it's adopting more of a professional scoring system, which I like. Headgears as well. You have bigger gloves, and you're wearing a vest. When you turn professional, some of those safety features and safety equipment is removed. You know, you have no headgears, smaller gloves, little things like not wearing a vest or a top. You don't think is going to make a difference, but it does. Those gloves, you know, tearing against your exposed skin, it does make a difference. Just little things like that, and the professional game has more possibility to get paid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And amateurs, it's only amateurs that can compete at the Commonwealth Games and the Olympics, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if professional boxers can compete at the Olympics as of now. I know they were trying to bring them in. They might be able to, but it's not something that professional boxers really do. You know, it's just a different path.
Mm-hmm. And what made you decide that you wanted to go professional instead of staying amateur and potentially representing your country at the Olympics?
So I grew up obsessed with professional boxers. You know, I grew up listening to stories, and I suppose respect towards professional boxers. You know, my grandfather loved like Marvin Hagler, Joe Fraser, just the fighters that wanted to put on like a war and wanted to entertain the crowd, and that's something that I've kind of brought with me in my career. You know, I want to put it all on the line. I want the crowd to be entertained at the end of the night. I always wanted to be a professional, and you know, when the opportunity presented itself, and I kind of decided that you know I wanted to try something new. It was when I was 17, and I realized that no Irish person had ever turned professional before the age of 18. So I kind of decided, let's try and find a way to make this work. And the only way I could do it was by obtaining a professional license before the age of 18, which is only possible in certain countries, Mexico being one of them. And because you can land in America and drive to the border, and you know it's a lot easier process than some of the other countries, I chose that as the destination to turn professional. And you know it was just a matter of getting things organized, getting things together, and then making the decision to leave the amateur games and join the professional ranks.
Yeah, cool, man. That's an excellent segue into your pro debut. Talk to me about that process, going from amateur to pros and the difference between that in your mindset, your preparation, etc. And then talk me through your pro career so far.
So I turned professional at the age of 17 in Tijuana, Mexico. I was just starting my final year of high school. So I would have been studying for my end of school exams.
That's nuts, man.
But before I sat down in the classroom, I decided to take a few days off and head to Los Angeles. From Los Angeles, we drove down to the Mexican border, crossed the Mexican border, met up with the commission, got a license, weighed in, fought the next day, and then flew home the day after that. And I was back in school the day after I landed. So it was a quick trip, but I done it again on my midterm break, and then I had two more fights in Budapest and Slovakia, before sitting my end of year exams and end of school exams, and then I had one more fight since then, before the pandemic hit in Mexico again.
Mm-hmm. Which organization are you fighting for at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm not linked to any organization, but I always wanted that WBC belt. I've had my eyes on that for a long time, and you know I've spoken with WBC LA, WBC Asia, and recently WBC Russia. So that was surprising. So I think it's only a matter of time before you know I bring that a WBC belt back to Ireland and potentially back to Tiger Muay Thai too.
Yeah, Keen, man. Keen. What's the path look like to the top of those rankings, the WBC rankings?
So
And what weight are you fighting at?
So I fight at super featherweight. I was planning on dropping to featherweight before this whole
For
pandemic.
Yep. For my listeners that don't know boxing, what weights are those?
So super featherweight is 130 pound, which is, I think it's 59 kilo.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm only a small person, but it's a packed weight division. You know, you've so many top athletes there. You step up one weight division and it's shark infested waters at the top. But at the moment, you know, I could sit here and say, I'd love to fight this person and that person and call out all the big names, but it's ignorant for a young fighter to start doing that. You know, I'm 5-0. I have to make a name for myself before these lads even look at me. I might know and believe that I can, you know, give them as good as they give me, but it's just disrespectful to start calling them out because they've invested more in the professional side of the sport. They've dedicated more time and they've paid their dues. You know, they have a lot more skin in the game than me. They've earned their spot, they've earned their ranking, and I have to do the same now. I have to earn my stripes, and the only way to do that is by, you know, continuing to build a record, grow as a fighter, and put myself in the best possible place to get those opportunities when they do present themselves.
Well said, mate. That's something I want to talk about as well because that's not a common mindset from a lot of professional athletes. You know, a lot of professional athletes are, you know, calling people out and they're making a scene and they're trying to draw attention to themselves. So, you know, they could potentially get those opportunities. Like, what are your thoughts on that side of things? Do you think people put on a bit of a front for the media to draw attention, bring people into fights and things like that? I mean, an easy example is Conor McGregor, right? You know, he makes a fuss, draws a lot of attention, brings in a lot of viewers to the MMA world. Does the same thing happen in boxing? And if so, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, 100%. You know, you see so many fighters, a countless number of fighters trying to do that. They can't do it, but they're trying their best to. There are some that can pull it off and sound flawless. You mentioned Conor McGregor; he's the best at it. Floyd Mayweather, you know, look at Pretty Boy Floyd. He was a different fighter. He was keep putting it all on the line, but he kind of had this persona as a baller, and once he realized that, he allowed it to take over, and he blew that out of proportion. You know, he wanted to be the villain because people were paying to see him lose, but people were paying. He switched from Pretty Boy Floyd to Money Mayweather. Again, it was a front. It was to draw people in. It was to make people pay for tickets and to show up on fight night, whether they were supporting him or not. He didn't really care, you know. He wanted to get as much money as he could out of the sport and retire healthy. He didn't take, you know, I can count on one hand how many shots he was hit with that really rocked him. McGregor, you know, he's probably the biggest name in combat sports at the moment, probably the biggest name in sport at the moment. And he done it through, as you said, kind of putting on a front and speaking and, you know, just having this brilliant ability to draw listeners and draw like eyes to the sport and grab attention. But only certain people can do that, and there's a lot of people failing at that at the moment. I could sit there and say, you know, I'd do this to this person, and you know, this person wouldn't last this many rounds with me, but people will see right through that because that's not who I am. I'm straight to the point. You know, if they gave me, we say Lomachenko tomorrow, and we were talking about it on the podcast, I'd say that man, you know, he's going to school me. Like his boxing ability is ridiculous. But if I stepped into the ring with him, I'd believe in myself and I'd have full confidence that I'm going to beat him. So it's just a matter of not getting confidence mixed up with, I suppose, being cocky. You have to be realistic at the end of the day. These men are still levels above me, but I'm chasing that, you know. I'm going to compare myself to them every chance I get, and I'm going to keep chasing them. And if they get complacent, I'll catch them, and I'll expose that complacency. But until then, I'm going to have to earn my stripes and earn my place at the table, with those fighters at the top.
Yeah, man, that's a really good point that you make. There are people like yourself who do seem very humble and are just going to put your head down and, chase those people at the top and let the other people talk shit and draw attention to themselves and then, have everyone laugh when they fail or whatever. But then there's going to be like someone like yourself who might potentially be an underdog, man. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Australians, but Aussies fucking love an underdog. Aussies love people that are, just as you're speaking, man. I'm like, oh, dude, I'm barracking for you for sure, just because of your attitude, your mentality, and, shying away from all of the other bullshit, trying to call people out and having that persona. But that's what it is. Like, it is a persona and it is a business when you start getting to, those bigger events and things like that. And you do need to play a little bit of a part to draw people in and things like that. How do you think you're going to react when you get to that point where you are fighting in bigger arenas, you are fighting bigger names, and the media is coming to you and they're asking you questions, trying to draw things out of you? How do you think you'll react to that process?
Yeah, so I suppose the more eyes you get, the larger arenas you fight on, the more publicity is going to come to you. I've handled it well so far. I've had, a few reporters trying to, I suppose, put words in my mouth and draw an answer, but I've handled it well. When you get to those stages, you're going to have like opponents calling you out or, I suppose, trash talking you. Well, my response to that is I'm Irish. I can be the kid at the back of class, shouting out insults. That's like second nature to Irish kids. So I have faith that I can answer that pretty well when the time comes. But always going to be myself, and I'm going to be honest. And yeah, the sport does, I suppose, need personas and fronts by some people, just to draw tickets and just to create some, I suppose, suspense and entertainment in this, because that's what we are at the end of the day. We're entertainers. So everything you see is not the truth. A lot of these fighters that look like bad guys are some of the most humble people you'd meet. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's just something to bear in mind as well when, I suppose, you're hating on someone for what you see on TV or in interviews. It mightn't be 100% them.
Until we see you hating on someone, then we're like, oh, that guy must be a fucking asshole.
Yeah, you see me you'll be coming back to this episode like, what happened?
That's cool, man. Let's talk about some of the haters. You've got a pretty decent following on social media. Obviously, there's people in your corner that are barracking for you, that are helping you, progress your journey, progress your professional growth and development. But I'm sure you've come up against people that are trying to shoot you down, people that are trying to rubbish your name or drag your name through the mud or whatever. Like, how do you react to the haters?
I don't react to the haters. Simple as that. I don't give them any of my time or energy. If I see like a comment or a message, I'll open it, I'll read it, but then I leave it there. If I don't respond, if I don't give it any of my time or energy, it doesn't affect me in any way. As humans, we kind of have this built-in kind of ability to just like obsess over the negative things. It's beneficial because it's what kept us alive all these years, but right now it doesn't really make sense. We see one negative thing out of hundreds of positive things and we obsess on it and dwell on it. But I've always kind of focused on flipping that in his head. If I have so many people support me, why give that negative person my time? And also, I made my pro debut and I remember it. There was someone tweeting about me, a lot of hate, a lot of disrespect. And he messaged me that night and told me congratulations, that exact same person. And I just kind of like instantly thought, if he has so much time to do that in his life, like there mustn't have been much going on in it. You know, if he can focus on me so much, like he mustn't have much like to focus on in his own life. So it was just kind of not like focusing on him, but kind of feeling sorry for him, and you know, trying to see things from their point of view. If they can, it never, like, I can never understand why people hate on other people. So you know, I kind of more feel sorry for them than like feel anything myself.
Another great answer, man. As you grow, as your name gets out there, as you improve, as you start, you know, fighting in bigger arenas, bigger opponents, etc., those haters are going to grow. That trash talk is going to, you know, get louder and louder and louder. There's going to be more and more and more of that. Are you prepared for that?
Yeah, I think you kind of have to come to terms with that if you want to do anything in life. If you want to excel in any area, you're going to have people that don't want you to reach the top. You're going to have people trying to pull you down. You know, it's just part of the game. So it's just about, I suppose, realizing that and coming to terms with it before it happens. And then when it happens, it's just another day. You've already prepared yourself. You've already experienced this, and you know, it's like water off a duck's back. It's not going to impact you in any way.
Brilliant, man. I feel like you're so much older than you actually are. This is a good conversation, bro. Let's talk about what your mindset coming into Thailand, and you know, how important is mindset for you in your, or how important your mindset has been in your growth, in your development, in your amateur and professional career, and how important that is moving forward.
Mindset is something I focus on a lot, and you know, it's the foundation of everything. Without a strong mindset, it's going to be exposed, and everything else is going to fall apart. You know, when you're in, I suppose, those uncomfortable situations, in those difficulties, if you have chinks in your armor, it's going to weaken everything else. You're not going to, I suppose, have that mental strength and that resilience just to keep going. Whether that's a sprint session and you know it's the last couple of seconds and your body's telling you to just stop. Just that mental strength and that bit of grit is going to separate people that get off that treadmill or slow down on that track, and the people who give it 100% and keep pushing forward. 2020 is something that, you know, revealed that in everyone. It was adversity that, you know, impacted the whole world. Some people handle it better than others, and you know, I believe mindset helped me so much that year. You know, just keep moving forward, finding a way to work around, and not kind of letting it get to me. Mental health has been hugely, I suppose, uh, important or incredibly important the past year. It's been highlighted by everyone. You know, it's never been talked about more, and there's a reason for that. You know, it's something that everyone should kind of take some time to build, not just for sports, not just for like a certain goal, but for everything, for life in general. Boxing has definitely helped me in much more ways than just the sport. You know, I spoke earlier about my running in 2020. I switched to, you know, ultramarathon running and endurance running, and just building that mental resilience again, putting myself in those difficult situations. You know, I ran a couple of marathons, I ran a couple of 50 milers, and I finished it off with a 100-kilometer run. And it was just about getting out of my comfort zone and getting in those uncomfortable situations, so that I'm just constantly growing as a person, constantly building on that mental resilience and just trying to get stronger in every way.
Man, you are fucking wise beyond your years. I've literally just finished recording a podcast episode with some other coaches. I run a coaches corner where I talk to coaches and we just talk shop. And that's something that we spoke about. One of my friends recently ran 120 kilometers around Singapore, and it was like, I'm doing it for my mental resilience. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's the thing, man. Like, I'm ex-army. I deployed 3 times in 6 years. I went to Iraq, East Timor,
4-man
Afghanistan.
sniper team.
Yeah, bro. And, you know, like the training is so important, and how you train yourself, how you condition your mind and your body in a controlled environment during training is going to carry over to an uncontrolled environment when you're on the fucking battlefield or in the ring or in the cage or on the sporting field or whatever. And what you said before is super important, man. I drill this into my fighters. I drill this into my clients. I drill this into myself about building that mental resilience. Like, I did some alactic conditioning work with my fighters this morning. We're on the assault bike. Everyone fucking hates the assault bike, right? And I was like, we're going 5 seconds as hard as possible. 5 seconds on, 55 seconds off. We're only doing this 6 times. There's 30 seconds of work. And I'm like, you do not start half a second late. You do not stop half a second early. Otherwise, there's only 4 seconds of work. Now you're missing, like, you know, almost 15% of the training session. I'm like, that adds up. If you're doing a sprint and you pull up short from the line, that adds up. You pull up 2 meters short, that adds up over that training session, that week, that month, that year. You know, that adds up over a career, over a lifetime. And, you know, I always say, man, like, one of my favorite quotes is, go the extra mile because there's fucking nobody there.
100%. Yeah, it's those little things will add up, you know, over time. Another book I read during 2020 was Atomic Habits, and it was about the importance of those little improvements. You know, if you can strip something and break it away into like 1,000 pieces and just improve 1% on each piece, when you put it all together, you know, it's so much different. It's so much better, and you know, it will show. Those little things will show. Those little extra seconds on the treadmill, or you know, every athlete hates it, but the assault bike, it's going to show when you get in under those lights on fight night.
Yeah, man. And I want to reiterate that point. You know, how you train, how you perform in a controlled environment is how you're going to perform in an uncontrolled environment. If you're taking shortcuts in training, nutrition, recovery, sleep, hydration, etc., then that's going to affect your performance. And fuck, I'm 35 years old. I'm turning 36. I played in a rugby tournament probably 6 months ago now. Player of the tournament, man. Had a really fucking good competition, but I look after myself really well. You know, I still train really hard, but I need to prioritize rest, recovery, hydration, nutrition, sleep, all of these other recovery mechanisms, because as you get older, you just can't get away with, you know, training as hard and training as poorly without as much guidance, without focusing on the recovery mechanisms. Let's talk about give me some examples of how you built your mindset going through your training about, you know, not pulling up short, not taking shortcuts and things like that. Give me some examples of what you do in the gym to condition yourself to that adversity.
So I take a different approach, I suppose, than what coaches would recommend as such. Uh, a majority of my training at home wouldn't be sport specific because I'm not really in camp. You know, leading up to fights, it's completely different because that's all you're focusing on. You know, you're giving 100% of yourself to that fight and being the best of your ability. Outside of camp, I just want to make myself as uncomfortable as possible in those situations. If that means getting up in the morning when you don't want to and going for a 50-mile run, like I've done that. But like, there's some CrossFit workouts that are just like insane. Like if you just read it, you're like, that's gonna hurt. And knowing that it's gonna hurt before you do it is
Yeah.
is a big thing, like psychologically. So when you start, you know, when you put your hands on that barbell and you say, okay, I'm in for like 20 minutes of pain. And then when that clock goes and it strikes 20 minutes, you know, you've been in that cave and you've made it a little wider. And it's a little easier to stay in there now, you know, you're not suffocating anymore. You have a little bit more room. And when you show up to the next session, do the same thing, you're just removing another bit of earth from that cave, and then before long, it's like home in there. And if other athletes haven't dug that deep or done that in training session, you can bring them into those, I suppose, deep places, and they'll suffocate because they haven't been there in training. So just knowing that, sprints as well is a massive one. I didn't do sprints in the early part of my career, and then I suppose discovered the importance of it, and just that kind of pain threshold, knowing that you can push out those extra seconds, and it's just about finishing them too. When you accomplish, when you complete a training session that's demanding and it's painful, it gives you some confidence to know that you can do that again. If you line up the exact same training session, yes, it's painful. The pain doesn't change, but you can do it, and you can do it. So when you make it a little harder and you keep doing that over time, we spoke about the importance of like those minor, I suppose, advancements, those little seconds. And if you just keep building on it, the difference between your first training session and your last training session is, it's fast. And, I suppose the impact of that on, I suppose, your physical appearance is easy to see, but on your mind and your mindset, it's there too. You just can't see it, but it's still incredibly important.
Yeah, man, great point. And again, I want to reiterate that I did recently speak on another podcast about conditioning yourself to adversity. We need to do something uncomfortable every day to shift the needle, and it doesn't have to be way out there. It doesn't have to be crazy, but something a little bit uncomfortable. It might be taking a cold shower or something. Go hot and then cold for the last 30 seconds or something. And if you do that every day, then you condition yourself to be able to deal with that adversity. And then once that becomes comfortable, then you shift the needle again and you do something a little bit more uncomfortable. And that is literally progressive overload. And this sounds like something you've basically been doing your entire career since you're 11 years old, man, 9 years old. That was, when did you start? 9 or 11?
9.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Where do I want to go next? I had something on my mind just then. Talk to me about, you just spoke about sprints. Now, for the most part, a lot of boxers and fighters in general, Muay Thai fighters, I see this all the time in Thailand. Most of their aerobic conditioning comes from long road runs. Where do you see sprints fit in? You said you spoke about the benefits of them. Like, talk to me about what you felt doing sprints and how that translated to your training and potentially your fights.
Yeah, so I played around with my training, changed it, so many times that it's very interesting to see the effect it has on your body, the effect it has on your performance, and the effect it has on just your ability to do certain things. My early career, I didn't have sprints. When I turned professional, the coach kind of told me the importance of it, and I kind of took that on, and ever since I've been using sprints. I've done different types of sprint sessions, 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off. I done 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, 30 seconds on, 15 seconds off, and just kept changing it up. But there's definitely a huge impact, or definitely has a huge impact on me. Just my ability to kind of increase that tempo and just, I suppose, be more explosive has definitely been evident to me. In 2020, I switched my focus completely to long endurance runs. I was clocking up over 100 kilometers a week. So my gas tank at the moment is ridiculous. I got up in December, on the morning of December 5th, and ran for 11 and a half hours.
Wow.
My I suppose, aerobic gas tank is, it's the best it's ever been. But like, if I was getting on a treadmill now and do sprints, it's a totally different ball game. It's going to be a challenge because I haven't done it in so long. And your body adapts. If you're doing sprints, it's going to adapt to that. And if you're not doing sprints, it's going to adapt too. But thankfully, like I found that it adapts pretty quickly. So I like sprints, and I also like those long endurance runs, more mentally than physically for me, because I find the same benefits out of long endurance runs as I do long days in the gym doing drills or doing bag work. I find the same benefit, but sprints, I haven't found anything to, I suppose, replace those yet.
I'll find something for you, mate. Don't worry about that.
That assault bike.
Let's talk about that, because you obviously have been in lockdown or in quarantine for 10 odd days now, coming up on 2 weeks. So that's thrown your nutrition off, that's thrown your training off. You are obviously a very disciplined person, a disciplined athlete, which has, brought you to where you are right now. But how has not being able to control those things over this quarantine period affected you?
I've definitely let it get to me more than I hoped. I knew coming into it that it was going to be different and it was going to be strange, but it's definitely been frustrating, and I've kind of felt overwhelmed at times. I'm not afraid to admit that. Not being able to control it. I was overweight for most of my amateur career. When I found, I suppose, the importance of nutrition and started, learned how to manage my own nutrition. I worked with a nutritionist, Luke O'Mahony, who's based in Cork. He, I suppose, taught me everything I needed to know to handle it, and kind of installed that mindset of question everything, and nothing's as straightforward as it seems, and just keep learning for yourself as well. So the importance of nutrition, kind of, it's been, I suppose, nutrition has been something that's very important to me. I've been managing my weight. I've been in great shape since coming in here. It's all been taken away. You can't manage your meals. You're handed them. The hotel staff cook them because they can't bring things in from outside, and it's been difficult to cope with. But I'll get out in 5 days now, get down to E and get back on track. So it's good knowing that there's an end date and it's just around the corner.
Yeah. What's your approach to getting out of quarantine and then rolling into the gym and starting training? Like, do you have a structure? Do you have a plan? Do you have a strategy to get back into the swing of things, considering you haven't been on top of nutrition and training for a couple of weeks by the time that happens?
So I haven't taken a break or like a long period off since I started this sport when I was 9 or 10. So it's a whole different experience for me now, getting back into, I suppose, boxing and getting back into peak condition for boxing. I haven't sat idle. That's one thing that I think will stand for me. I didn't sit around and get complacent during 2020. I stayed active. I stayed in shape, and I kind of stayed ready. So I'm hoping that pays off when I get into the gym. It's going to be a frustrating few weeks when the body is not doing exactly what you're telling it to do. When the weight you pick up doesn't feel as light as it did, when you were training sport specifically. The rounds and the bags, they're going to feel a little bit longer, but my work rate, my gas tank, I'll stand by that, and I truly believe it's second to none. I'll put it with the best up there, and I believe that's going to stand by me when I get into the gym. I'm going to just I suppose I'm just going to follow the lead from all the coaches there. John, I know he'll create a good program for me. Working with yourself, I know you'll get me into tip-top condition, and just the other coaches as well. You've experienced this before with fighters coming back. So it's a new experience for me, but it's like second nature to you at this stage. And, I have full confidence that you'll get me to where I need to go.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm excited. We'll be working through some general conditioning, general physical preparation and for most people that are listening, there are some coaches that listen that understand periodization, but there will be people that don't understand periodization. For someone like you, just to give an example, would be going through a movement assessment, and then we'd be working on structural integrity of the joints, mobility, stability, then looking at strength as a base, and then looking at power, speed, and anaerobic conditioning, considering you seem to have a fairly solid aerobic base. So I'm excited to get to work, mate. This episode will drop on Monday. So you'll be arriving within the next couple of days by the time this drops. Just to round out the episode, mate, the name of this podcast is Live, Train, Perform, which stands for Live Life to the Fullest, Train to Your Potential, and Perform at Your Best. What does that mantra mean to you?
Just live in the moment. Appreciate everything that you have right now while working for everything you want. Prepare the best you can to give everything you've got. Life's too short for half attempts, so go all in or get all out. And you're going to perform at the best of your ability if you've prepared to the best of your ability. So, the performance takes care of itself once you give it your all each day in camp.
Good place to wind up, mate. You don't rise to your level of expectations, you fall to the level of your preparation.
Yeah, 100%.
Mate, where can people find you?
So Instagram is the platform I use most. It's the platform I only use, really. _ James Power. And, that's where you'll find me and support my journey. And I'd appreciate, I suppose, everyone that does support me.
Good, man. I'll have that linked in the show notes. Thank you very much for coming on the show and for your time, brother. I look forward to meeting you in a couple of days by the time this drops, and we will catch you at Tiger Muay Thai soon.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Cheers, bro. And that rounds out my conversation with up-and-coming professional boxer James Power. You can follow his journey at his Instagram handle at _ James Power. Also keep an eye out for the work that he does with myself and the other coaches at Tiger Muay Thai as he joins the Tiger Muay Thai fight team. If you enjoyed this conversation, please pass it off to your friends and family. Any 5-star ratings and reviews are much appreciated. Much love, guys. Peace.